This is Perry Como.
Amy Grant here.
This is Boney James.
Debbie Gibson here.
This is Candace Knight of Blackmore's Night, and you're listening to The Sounds of Christmas
podcast.
Hi, I'm Ken Kessler, and welcome to the Sounds of Christmas podcast. If you're new to this podcast, I want to start by saying thanks for joining us. If you're not new, welcome back. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Now, to avoid any confusion, I want to start off by saying there won't be any music played here. This is a place for conversation. I'll talk about Christmas music and some related topics, sometimes by myself and sometimes with guests. If you're looking for music, just go to soundsofchristmas.com and click on the tree or the player on the front page or on the Listen Now page. We play the best variety of Christmas music all year long. Well, except in October, when we play the best variety of Halloween music. This was something I started a couple years ago, inspired by the 40th anniversaries of Mannheim Steamroller's first Christmas album and Band-Aid's Do They Know It's Christmas. I thought I'd take another crack at it and take a look at the Christmas albums that are having big anniversaries this year. By big anniversary, I mean the ones that end in 0 or 5. For some reason, 40th and 45th both seem more significant than 42nd. I'm not sure why, it just seems to work that way. The thing about this, for me at least, is that I really enjoy this kind of list because it helps me remember some Christmas albums that I might have forgotten about, might have slid through the cracks. And that's part of what the Sounds of Christmas is all about, playing those things and helping everybody have that Christmas music that otherwise might just be lost in the sands of time. So I'm not trying to elevate my position here, but that's just kind of a goal. I should mention that it's also quite possible and even likely that I've missed some, and that's not intentional, but I do apologize if one of your favorites didn't get on my list. This year, we'll start in 1946, as this year marks the 80th anniversary of Perry Como's first Christmas album, Perry Como Sings Merry Christmas Music. Originally, this came out as a set of 4 78 RPM records consisting of a total of 8 songs. That Christmas Feeling, I'll Be Home for Christmas, Silent Night, O Come All Ye Faithful, Jingle Bells, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Winter Wonderland, and O Little Town of Bethlehem. I think it's amazing and kind of cool that 80 years later, many of these songs still get played every December. This set was reissued a year later with White Christmas replacing O Little Town of Bethlehem. In 1956, it was reissued again as an LP with 8 additional tracks from Perry's 1953 Christmas EP. Since then, it has been reissued and altered many times, culminating, at least for now, as part of a 3-CD set in 2012 called Perry Como Complete RCA Christmas Collection, which supposedly includes all of Perry's Christmas songs. There are 2 albums turning 75 this year. The first is Patti Page's first Christmas album, Christmas with Patti Page. Originally released as an 8-song album in 1951, it has been updated several times over the years. In 1955, it was expanded with 4 additional songs. Another song, Boogie Woogie Santa Claus, was added for the 1995 CD release. And then in 2013, a deluxe edition of the CD was released, upping the track list with another 5 songs, including Home for the Holidays, The Christmas Song, and Silent Night from the Patti Page Show. The other album turning 75 this year is Mario Lanza's 8-song set, Mario Lanza Sings Christmas Songs, which spent several weeks at number 1 on Billboard's best-selling pop albums chart. The album was reissued in 1956 as Mario Lanza Sings Christmas Carols. The opening track of the original album, The Lord's Prayer, was removed, and 7 more songs were added. Deck the Halls, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, Joy to the World, O Christmas Tree, I Saw 3 Ships, and It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. An interesting tidbit about this album is that the final song was Guardian Angels, which is the final song on both versions of the album, and it's a song with music by Harpo Marx. Originally, it was written for the 1945 film short The All-Star Bond Rally, which featured Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. More recently, that song has been covered by Placido Domingo for his 2014 Christmas album, My Christmas. On to 1956 and the Christmas album celebrating their 70th anniversary this year. The first two are ones I already mentioned. Perry Como sings Christmas music and Mario Lanza sings Christmas carols. The others are from Bing Crosby and Roger Wagner. Bing's album was A Christmas Sing with Bing Around the World. This was actually taken from a radio broadcast from Christmas Eve 1955. Bing sings on 9 of the 19 tracks. Those are Joy to the World, White Christmas, The First Noel, Good King Wenceslas, Away in a Manger, Deck the Halls, O Little Town of Bethlehem, Silent Night, and a brief reprise of the opening song, Happy Holiday. The opening was a minute long and it was performed by an orchestra, while Bing's version was just under half as long. The other album turning 70 this year is the Roger Wagner Chorale's Joy to the World. This one still has the same 19 tracks that originally appeared on the album. I don't even think the song order has changed over the years. And now, on to 1961. Albums by Chet Atkins, Mitch Miller, Stan Kenton, Ramsey Lewis, and June Christie are all 65 this year. The first one I want to mention is actually a compilation called An All-Star Christmas, We Wish You the Merriest, and it included Christmas songs from Doris Day, the Harmonicats, Bobby Hackett, Johnny Cash, Ray Conniff, Frankie Lane, Andre Previn, Les Paul and Mary Ford, and Les Brown. It was reissued in 2022 with the title Christmas Classics, but it still has the same track list. Chet Atkins' first Christmas album, called Christmas with Chet Atkins, was also released in 1961. It spent 11 weeks on Billboard's Best Bets for Christmas Albums chart, and his version of Silver Bells is really something you should hear, though since it's 65 years old, you probably already have. You just might not know it. Chet's album has been reissued several times, with tracks being replaced and reordered. Finally, the complete RCA and Columbia Christmas recordings, a 2-CD set gathering all the material from Christmas with Chet Atkins, as well as Atkins' 1983 release, East Tennessee Christmas. Mitch Miller and the gang released their second Christmas album in 1961, Holiday Sing-Along with Mitch. This one had more contemporary songs than their first, Christmas Sing-Along with Mitch. There are 13 songs on this one, though Must Be Santa is probably the one you've heard, or at least heard the most. It's remained unchanged over the years, making the jump to CD and to digital intact. Stan Kenton's A Merry Christmas is also 65 this year. Despite recent streaming editions claiming to be an expanded edition, they seem to have the same 12 tracks, though some actually don't have the last track, What is Santa Claus? Over the years, some editions have added the medley Christmas for Moderns, a medley of The First Noel, White Christmas, O Come All Ye Faithful, the Christmas song Silent Night, and Jingle Bells. Unrelated, as far as I know, is a single called Ride On Santa, Ride On, attributed to Stan Kenton and released in December of 2020. Ramsey Lewis's first Christmas album, called The Sounds of Christmas, is also celebrating its 65th this year. A favorite of mine, and not just because of the title, it's a great jazz romp through 8 classics plus 2 originals, the title track and the song Christmas Blues, which Ramsey co-wrote with Skitch Henderson. Ramsey followed this one up in 1964 with more Sounds of Christmas. And June Christie's album, This Time of Year, also turned 65 this year. All 10 songs on this one are originals, and while it didn't make much of a splash when originally released, which is a shame, the song The Merriest has grown in popularity over the years, covered just a couple years ago by Jane Monheit. And now to 1966 and the albums that are celebrating their 60th this year. Jazz guitar legend Charlie Bird's album Christmas Carols for Solo Guitar hits the big 6-0 this year. While it has been reissued a few times, I don't think anything has been added to the original 14-song track list. Charlie did release a second Christmas album, the Charlie Bird Christmas album, in 1982, which did include a few of the songs from this one. What Child Is This?, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, and God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. I think those were new recordings, however. Pat Boone released his second Christmas album in 1966. It was called Christmas Is A-Comin', and it was actually his 35th studio album. None of the songs from her first Christmas album, 1959's White Christmas, appeared on this one. Instead, Christmas Is a Comin' included 7 covers and 4 originals: the title track, Little Green Tree, Santa's Coming in a Whirlybird, and The Chosen Ones. By the way, Pat wrote Little Green Tree. Loretta Lynn's first Christmas album, Country Christmas, is also 60 this year. She would release one more Christmas album, White Christmas Blue, almost 50 years to the day after this first one. Loretta wrote or co-wrote 4 of the album's 12 tracks. The title track, It Won't Seem Like Christmas, I Won't Decorate Your Christmas Tree, and To Heck with Old Santa Claus. And that last one was released as a single. Dean Martin released his second Christmas album in 1966. It was called the Dean Martin Christmas Album. His first was 1959's A Winter Romance. The Dean Martin Christmas album topped Billboard's Best Bets for Christmas chart. It has been reissued many times with different names, but it always seems to have the same 10 songs, though the 2008 version, which was called A Very Cool Christmas, does include an 11th track, Peace on Earth, Silent Night. Booker T and the MGs released their only Christmas album, In the Christmas Spirit, in 1966. It contained 12 songs and spent 9 weeks on the charts. Also turning 60 this year is James Brown's first Christmas album, James Brown Sings Christmas Songs. James' Christmas albums and singles have been re-released with a variety of different titles and track lists. There's a pretty good collection called The Complete James Brown Christmas, which has 37 tracks, including all the songs from all 3 of his Christmas albums, along with his Christmas singles. 7 of the 12 tracks on James Brown Sings Christmas Songs were written by James, including Let's Make Christmas Mean Something This Year, Sweet Little Baby Boy, Parts 1 and 2, Merry Christmas, I Love You, Signs of Christmas, and This Is My Lonely Christmas, Parts 1 and 2. Lena Horne's Christmas album, Merry from Lena, is also celebrating its 60th this year. I believe this is her only Christmas album. It contained 10 classic songs, and reissues starting in 1990 added an 11th track, her version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Henry Mancini released A Merry Mancini Christmas 60 years ago. While there are only 11 tracks on this one, 7 of them are medleys, so you do get a lot more. And collectors should note that this album also includes Carol for Another Christmas, which was used in the 1964 TV movie of the same name, a TV movie that was written by Rod Serling and starred Ben Gazzara, Steve Lawrence, Eva Marie Saint, Pat Hingle, Robert Shaw, and Peter Sellers. Also turning 60 this year, Noel from Joan Baez. This album had 17 tracks, though several were short instrumentals: Deck the Halls, Good King Wenceslas, Bring a Torch, Jeanette, Isabella, Angels We Have Heard on High, and O Come All Ye Faithful, all of which were under 1 minute, except for Angels We Have Heard on High, which was 1 minute and 22 seconds. When Noel was reissued in 2001, 6 more tracks were added. 2 of those were instrumentals, We Three Kings and Good Christian Kings. The other 4 were The First Noel, Virgin Mary, Burgundian Carol, and a French version of Away in a Manger. Wayne Newton's first Christmas album, Songs for a Merry Christmas, is also celebrating its 60th this year. This was Wayne's 8th studio album, and all 12 tracks would show up on his 3rd Christmas album, Merry Christmas to You, in 1970. And finally, for 1966, we have Mae West. Yes, that Mae West, and her album, Wild Christmas. It had only 8 songs, including a non-Christmas Beatles cover of From Me to You. 4 of the other tracks were covers of recent non-secular Christmas hits. The other 3 were Santa Come Up to See Me, Put the Loot in the Boot, Santa, and My New Year's Resolution. It was re-released as May in December, M-A-E, May in December, get it? In 1980, with a rearranged track listing and different artwork. In 2009, it reappeared as Christmas Classics in digital format, retaining the 1980 track listing, but again sporting a different cover image. Wild Christmas never received individual CD reissue, but in 2013, it was bundled on a single CD with the fabulous Mae West. In 2015, the album was eventually released onto digital music platforms, retaining the original track listing and cover image. And now, the Christmas albums that came out in 1971 and are celebrating their 55th this year. First up, Lynn Anderson's released simply called The Christmas Album. This was her first Christmas album, and two of the songs, Jingle Bell Rock and I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, would show up again on her other Christmas album, 2002's Home for the Holidays. The Christmas album's opening song, Ding-a-Ling the Christmas Bell, was released as a single and at one point considered as a possible Christmas cartoon special, but the project never got off the ground. The album was reissued in 2015 with promotional Christmas Seals versions of 4 of the songs added on as bonus tracks. Each of these had a spoken intro from Lynn. Elvis Presley released his second Christmas album, Elvis Sings the Wonderful World of Christmas, in 1971. The original release had 11 songs, but a couple more were added in 1988, an extended version of Merry Christmas Baby and a live version of Blue Christmas, recorded in 1968 as part of Elvis's comeback special. In 2017, a special 2-CD edition was released by Follow That Dream Records. While this release had 34 tracks, almost all of them were various alternate takes of the tracks on the original recording. There was also a 3-minute Lord's Prayer among the extras, as well as the complete, unedited, 8.5-minute version of Merry Christmas Baby. 10 of those bonus tracks showed up on the recent box set Elvis Back in Nashville, including that complete unedited version of Merry Christmas Baby. Believe it or not, the Partridge Family's album, A Partridge Family Christmas, is also turning 55 this year. The album consisted of 10 covers and one original, My Christmas Card to You, which David Cassidy remade for his 2016 EP, A David Cassidy Christmas, though he called the song simply Christmas Card. Of the 11 songs on the Partridge Family Christmas album, only 2 of them, Winter Wonderland and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, were actually used on their TV show. Both appeared in the show's only Christmas episode, Don't Bring Your Guns to Town, Santa. Finally, for 1971, Bing Crosby's album, A Time to Be Jolly. It's 55 this year. None of the 10 tracks on this album were popular covers, except possibly Bing's version of Percy Faith's song, Christmas Is. The album was reissued as a holiday toast in 1977 and as Christmas album in 1994. There have been a bunch of re-released Bing Crosby Christmas albums over the last few years, and none of the tracks from this album seem to be part of any of that. You can find it streaming right now as Bing Crosby Christmas album, though many titles come up for that. It's the one that's dated 1995. And now, on to 1976. Christmas Jollies is the third album released by Vincent Montana Jr. and his first Christmas album. The album is attributed to the South Soul Orchestra, and the original song, Merry Christmas All, continues to get airplay today. Also turning 50 this year is the first holiday album from the Osmonds, which was called the Osmond Christmas Album. This was originally a 20-song set featuring performances by all the Osmonds together, as well as songs that just featured Merrill, Donnie, Marie, or Jimmy, and also a couple tracks from Donnie and Marie together. Oddly enough, when it was re-released in 1991 and retitled The Osmond Family Christmas, 8 of the tracks disappeared. Streaming, you can find it listed as Osmond Family Christmas Expanded Edition, which includes all of the original 20 tracks. Albums from 1981, turning 45 this year. Celine Dion's first Christmas album. It was called Celine Dion Sings Christmas, except that the title's actually in French, as were all 10 songs. And at the time, Celine was only 13 years old. When Celine got into the studio for the recording of her first album, she actually recorded 2, her debut and this Christmas album, which was released just a few weeks after her debut album. Recorded in just a weekend, the album didn't do well and went out of print shortly after that first Christmas, making it a highly sought-after collector's item. It is currently not available as vinyl, CD, or streaming. Kenny Rogers also released his first Christmas album in 1981 and his first Christmas single, Kentucky Homemade Christmas. In 1995, it was reissued as Christmas Wishes from Kenny Rogers. The track list got moved around, but no songs were added or removed. Also turning 45 this year is Boney M's release, simply called Christmas Album. This featured the Christmas hit Mary's Boy Child, Oh My Lord, a million-selling single from 1978. Boney M's album also included a medley that was nearly 6.5 minutes long. That medley began with Silent Night, and the German version of the album had the second verse sung in German, but it was sung in English in the UK and US versions. The full-length medley contained the song Sweet Bells, which wasn't released until 1986, when the medley was remixed and overdubbed, with the first two verses of Silent Night sung in German, while the third verse was sung in English. A second Christmas album was released in 1984 called Christmas with Boney M. In 2007, a new version of Christmas with Boney M was released, including tracks from that album and from the first Christmas album. The South Soul Orchestra's second Christmas release, called Christmas Jollies 2, is also 45 this year. The album only had 6 tracks, and 3 of those were instrumental disco versions of Christmas songs. Also turning 45 this year is Z Records' compilation, A Christmas Record. This collection is probably most well known for the Waitresses track, Christmas Wrapping. It also included tracks by Was Not Was and Kid Creole, though he used his name August Darnell instead. In 1992, it was re-released with 2 new songs added, the Three Courgettes with Christmas is Coming and James White's Christmas with Satan. The album was reissued again in 2004 with all the tracks from the original release, plus that James White song. It also included 3 new songs, My Silent Night by Lacey, Bells of Christmas by Miss O.D. and the Gentleman League, and Sleigh Ride by Leo, Helen Nagora, and Marie France. In 2016, it was reissued again, this time adding the Three Courgettes song back in. Anne Marie's first holiday album, Christmas Wishes, is also celebrating its 45th this year. This 10-song album was one of Anne's biggest selling releases, going double platinum. Anne also had a total of 8 Christmas releases over the years, though some are re-releases with new titles or combinations of previous albums. 1986 starts with an album we kind of mentioned, Boney M's The 20 Greatest Christmas Songs. This is a compilation of sorts, adding a couple new songs, revisiting older ones, and remixing and or editing many of those. Curiously, with no further changes, this album has been reissued several times as The Most Beautiful Christmas Songs of the World in 1992, A Wonderful Christmas Time in 1998, and Christmas Party in 2003. Ronnie Millsap's first Christmas album, Christmas with Ronnie Millsap, is also turning 40 this year. While the majority of the 10 tracks on this album were originals, Ronnie did cover Silver Bells, I'll Be Home for Christmas, and Silent Night. Also turning 40 this year, the Jets album, Christmas with the Jets. This was only their second album, and all 10 songs were original. Well, they weren't covers of Christmas songs, at least. They did cover the song from the animated movie An American Tail, Somewhere Out There, which was also recorded and released by Linda Ronstadt and James Ingram around the same time. And Rupert Holmes wrote the song You Make It Christmas for this album. He also wrote You Got It All for the Jets' first album. Crystal Gale's first Christmas album, A Crystal Christmas, is also celebrating its 40th this year. While I say it's her first Christmas album, I think it's actually her only Christmas album. But she did release the video Christmas Gale's Holiday in Finland in 2001. And she also joined Jay Patton on his album Impressions of Christmas in 1995, duetting on the song Special Kind of Christmas. She also contributed her version of What Child Is This to the compilation Country Christmas Stars of Nashville in 1997. And finally, for 1986, George Strait's first Christmas album, Merry Christmas Straight to You, turns 40 this year. That album went double platinum and contains a mix of covers and originals, the latter including the title track, When It's Christmas Time in Texas, and What a Merry Christmas This Could Be. And now the albums that came out in 1991 and are celebrating their 35th this year. First up is the album Bells of Dublin by the Chieftains. One of the really interesting things about this album are the guests that the Chieftains had, including Elvis Costello, Jackson Browne, Marianne Faithfull, Nancy Griffith, Ricky Lee Jones, and the actor Burgess Meredith. Don McLean's album Christmas is also 35 this year. This was Don's first Christmas album, and he had a little help on background vocals from the Jordanaires. This one was a collection of 9 covers, and it ended with Don's reading of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Also celebrating its 35th this year is Stephanie Mills' Christmas album, simply called Christmas. This one includes 4 covers and 6 originals, one of those being the song "Merry Christmas," which Stephanie co-wrote with Narada Michael Walden. Another noteworthy song, as far as I'm concerned, is the original track "Christmas with You," which was voted one of the top songs on the Sounds of Christmas for the first 2 or 3 years back when we were on Live 365 and the player allowed voting, which slowly got ruined by American Idol fans and then bots. Johnny Cash's Country Christmas, his 4th Christmas album, also turns 35 this year. 4 tracks on the album do not feature Johnny, but instead feature vocals by his wife, June Carter Cash, and the Carter family. Those are "Figgy Pudding," "The First Noel," "Oh Christmas Tree," and "It Came Upon the Midnight Clear." This was the last Johnny Cash release within his lifetime to feature the Carter family, who had been a staple of his live shows and studio recordings since the early 1960s. Many of the songs on this album had appeared on at least one of Johnny's previous Christmas albums, though this was the first one that included his version of "White Christmas." Oddly enough, in 2006, it was reissued with "White Christmas" and "I'll Be Home for Christmas" removed, replaced by the non-Christmas songs "Ring of Fire" and "I Walk the Line." Currently, I don't think it's available in any configuration. Michael Martin Murphey released his first Christmas album in 1991, "Cowboy Christmas, Cowboy Songs 2", referencing his 1990 non-Christmas album, Cowboy Songs. This one also featured a guest appearance by Susie Boggess on her song, "Two-Step Round the Christmas Tree." In 2019, Michael released a live album called Michael Martin Murphey's Cowboy Christmas Live, which contained some of the songs from the original album. Also 35 this year is "He Is Christmas," Take 6, first Christmas album. It won the 34th Annual Grammy Award for Best Jazz Vocal Performance, Duo, or Group in 1991. It has 10 tracks, including a version of "God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen" that also features the jazz group The Yellow Jackets. The compilation "A Lump of Coal" is also celebrating its 35th this year. The album opens with the Hoodoo Gurus version of "Little Drummer Boy" and includes the Crash Test Dummies version of "The First Noel" and Drunken Boat's cover of Miles Davis' song "Blue Xmas to Whom It May Concern." And the album ends with Henry Rollins' take on "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Glenn Campbell's "Merry Christmas" is 35 this year, too. This one was actually a compilation of songs from previous Glenn Campbell Christmas albums, and it also concludes with a version of "The Night Before Christmas." Also celebrating its 35th this year is Cliff Richard's album, Together with Cliff Richard. This was mostly a collection of Cliff's previous Christmas hits with 2 new songs added, "Christmas Never Comes" and "This New Year." The last Christmas album on my list that's turning 35 this year is the Blue Note Records compilation "Yule Struttin' a Blue Note Christmas." This one includes tracks from Stanley Jordan, Lou Rawls, Diane Reeves, and Dexter Gordon, to name a few. I see several sites claiming this came out in 1991, and some that say it came out in 1990, so I thought I'd go ahead and mention it here either way, just in case. And that brings us to 1996. So far on this list, this is the busiest year for Christmas album releases, but I think that's going to be the case each year that we go to next. But anyway, first up for 1996, Def Jam's compilation, Jermaine Dupri presents 12 Soulful Nights of Christmas. This included Christmas songs from Casey and JoJo, Alicia Keys, Shaka Khan, Faith Evans, Gerald Levert, Brian McKnight, and Jagged Edge. In 1998, it was reissued with 2 more songs, Kenny Lattimore's "The Time of Year" and a version of "Someday at Christmas" attributed to Voices of Soul. Voices of Soul included Destiny's Child, Cassie, Alicia Keys, JoJo Robinson, Kimberly Scott, Black, Trina Broussard, Trina and Tamara, and Jagged Edge. Jazz saxophonist Boney James released his first Christmas album in 1996, Boney's Funky Christmas. Largely an instrumental album, there are a few tracks with vocals, including a version of "What Are You Doing New Year's Eve," sung by Bobby Caldwell. This year also marks the 30th anniversary of Trans-Siberian Orchestra's debut album, Christmas Eve and Other Stories. This became the first album in their Christmas trilogy, which includes 1998's The Christmas Attic and 2004's The Lost Christmas Eve. The album became one of the best-selling Christmas albums of all time in the U.S. and has been certified 3 times platinum for selling 3 million copies in the United States. As of about 10 years ago, the album's song Christmas Eve Sarajevo 1224 has sold 1.3 million downloads, becoming one of the best-selling Christmas songs of all time. Later editions included a couple of bonus instrumental tracks, O Holy Night and God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, and Target had an edition that included the bonus tracks The World That He Sees and Trans-Siberian Orchestra's song from the Jim Carrey Grinch movie, Perfect Christmas Night. Jimmy Buffett's first Christmas album, Christmas Island, is also 30 this year. Jimmy wrote or co-wrote 3 of the album's 10 listed tracks, A Sailor's Christmas, Ho 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 and a Bottle of Rum, and Merry Christmas, Alabama. I say listed tracks because there was an extra hidden track, Jimmy's version of A Visit from St. Nicholas. Also 30 this year is Death Row Records' compilation Christmas on Death Row. A music video was released for the single, performed by Snoop Dogg, of Santa Claus Goes Straight to the Ghetto, which also included a piece of Isaac Hayes' song, Do Your Thing. Alabama's second Christmas album, appropriately called Christmas 2, is also celebrating its 30th this year. Of the 13 songs on the album, most were originals, with the only covers being their versions of Old Little Town of Bethlehem, Little Drummer Boy, and Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. Also celebrating its 30th this year is Colin Ray's first Christmas album, Christmas the Gift. It included one original, It Could Happen Again, which featured a spoken intro by Johnny Cash. The Beach Boys also appeared performing with Colin on Winter Wonderland. Over the Rhine also released their first Christmas album in 1996, The Darkest Night of the Year. Of the 13 songs on the album, there are 2 versions of Silent Night, the first being a full band electric recording, while the second is a slower acoustic version. Jazz legend Dave Brubeck released a Dave Brubeck Christmas in 1996. The album is a collection of solo piano pieces, including 2 original compositions, Run, Run, Run to Bethlehem and To Us Is Given. Also turning 30 this year is Kenny Rogers' album The Gift, his 4th Christmas album, if you count Once Upon a Christmas with Dolly Parton. The Gift includes Kenny's duet with Wynonna Judd on Mary Did You Know, which didn't do great as a single the year of release, but has continued to gain airplay over the years and has become one of the most played Christmas songs on traditional radio stations today. Geffen Records' compilation Just Say Noel is also celebrating its 30th this year. Just Say Noel included Christmas songs by Beck, Amy Mann with Michael Penn, The Roots, Southern Culture on the Skids, and Remy Zero, among many others. It also featured the 1983 single from XTC, Thanks for Christmas. Another compilation turning 30 this year is Christmas in the LBC from Kevin and the Bean, a morning radio show that was on K-Rock in Los Angeles. Like most of their compilations, this included Christmas songs from artists that were exclusive to Kevin and the Bean, and most of them are still unavailable anywhere except on this compilation, including tracks from Real Big Fish, Better Than Ezra, Poe, Korn, and Everclear. And another comp celebrating its 30th this year is Australia's The Spirit of Christmas 1996. This includes Christmas songs from John Farnham and Tim Finn, not together, and Paul Kelly's original version of How to Make Gravy. Vanessa Williams' first Christmas album, Star Bright, is also 30 this year. It proved to be one of the best-selling holiday albums of 1996 and 1997. A video was shot in 1993 for What Child Is This that was originally featured on the compilation album A Very Special Christmas 2, though I think the version on this album is different. The album was re-released in 2003 as the Christmas Collection 20th Century Masters, The Best of Vanessa Williams. Michael Bolton also released his first Christmas album in 1996. It was called This Is the Time, the Christmas Album, which included a version of Ave Maria featuring Placido Domingo and a duet with Wynonna Judd on the title track. The versions of Joy to the World and O Holy Night were arranged by Mariah Carey, and the version of White Christmas was arranged by David Foster. And finally, at least as far as my list goes, this year marks the 30th anniversary of Rosemary Clooney's third Christmas album, White Christmas. Rosie was backed by a big band on this terrific 21-song collection, which hit #1 on Billboard's traditional jazz chart. And now to 2001, with Christmas albums that are hitting their 25th anniversary this year. Destiny's Child's only Christmas album, 8 Days of Christmas, turns 25 this year. The album contains 12 tracks featuring traditional Christmas songs and 3 original songs, the title track, Winter Paradise, and Spread a Little Love on Christmas Day. The international version had an extra track, The Proud Family, attributed to Solange featuring Destiny's Child. Walmart had an edition with an exclusive track, a cover of the Bee Gees song, Emotion. In 2005, it was re-released with versions of Home for the Holidays and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer added to the original track list. Also turning 25 this year is the Broadway Cares compilation Home for the Holidays. This one included Liza Minnelli, Christine Ebersole, Jane Krakowski, and Billy Porter, just to name a few. While this one seems to be out of print, through the store on the Broadway Cares website, there are 19 different editions of their Carols for a Cure series, which actually dates back to 1999. Oh, the Broadway Cares website is simply broadwaycares.org. Olivia Newton-John's compilation, The Christmas Collection, also came out in 2001. It includes tracks from her Hallmark CD, 'Tis the Season, from 2000, a couple of the Australian Spirit of Christmas collections, and Kenny Loggins' 1999 TV special. Guests on this collection include Vince Gill, Clint Black, and Kenny Loggins. This album was reissued in 2003 with the title Best of the 20th Century Christmas with the same track list. It was also re-released in 2010 with the same songs, just in a different order. Mannheim Steamroller's fourth Christmas album, Christmas Extraordinaire, is also 25 this year. This album has 12 tracks, including a version of O Tannenbaum performed by Johnny Mathis. Christmas Extraordinaire is certified triple platinum and continues to be one of the best-selling Christmas albums in the United States. Also turning 25 this year is Barbra Streisand's second Christmas album, Christmas Memories. Christmas Memories is one of those rare albums that actually received a Grammy nomination. It was nominated for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album. Target and iTunes both had a deluxe edition with one extra song, a live version of God Bless America. David Foster produced the track Grown Up Christmas List, a song he also co-wrote, and he plays harmonica on the opening song, I'll Be Home for Christmas. Heart presents A Love Monger's Christmas is celebrating its 25th this year. Well, kind of. That album is 25, but it's actually a re-release of the album Here is Christmas by the Lovemongers, which was a side project of Ann and Nancy Wilson. The track list is the same, but the title and artwork are different. As in 2001, it was released as a Heart album. In 2004, it was reissued again, this time with 2 more songs, Mary and Let's Stay In. By the way, the cover photo for the 2004 version was actually taken by Nancy Wilson. A different Nancy Wilson, the legendary jazz singer, released a Christmas album in 2001. In her decades-long career, this was her first Christmas album. It was simply called A Nancy Wilson Christmas, and it contained Nancy's versions of 13 Christmas songs. The album reached the top 10 on both Billboard's Jazz Albums chart and their Traditional Jazz Albums chart. MTV TRL Christmas also turns 25 this year. This compilation featured songs from artists that were popular on MTV's show Total Request Live, with Christmas songs from NSYNC, Christina Aguilera, TLC, Sugar Ray, Blink-182, Weezer, and Smash Mouth, just to name a few. Well, maybe more than a few. It also included the song Snowball from Jimmy Fallon and Trans-Siberian Orchestra's Christmas Canon. The first Now That's What I Call Christmas collection is also turning 25 this year. While the majority of the 36 tracks on this compilation were previously released songs, it is probably most notable for giving us Britney Spears' My Only Wish this year. The album was certified 6 times platinum and remains one of the best-selling Christmas albums in the U.S. Also 25 this year, A Smooth Jazz Christmas, Dave Koz' second Christmas album. Dave welcomed several guests on this album, including David Benoit, Rick Braun, Kenny Loggins, Brenda Russell, and Peter White. Tony Braxton's Christmas album Snowflakes is also 25 this year. Snowflakes is a mix of covers and originals, including a collaboration with Babyface and David Foster on the song This Time Next Year, and Shaggy on the song Christmas in Jamaica, which he also appears on. Garth Brooks' Songs from Call Me Claus is celebrating its 25th too. This was also actually a re-release. It was a reissue of Garth's Magic of Christmas album from 1999. It just adds the songs Call Me Claus, Mary Had a Little Lamb, and Zat You Santa Claus. Call Me Claus, Zat You Santa Claus, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, and Winter Wonderland were featured on the soundtrack of the 2001 television film Call Me Claus, on which Garth was also an executive producer. Also 25 this year is the Holiday Land EP from They Might Be Giants. There were only 5 songs, and 3 of them had been previously released. Still, it was nice to get them all in one place, with the addition of the Hanukkah song Feast of Lights and the cover of the Sonic song Santa Claus. A very special Christmas 5 turns 25 this year. This compilation included tracks from Macy Gray, Eve Six, John Bon Jovi, Stevie Wonder, Dido, Sheryl Crow, and B.B. King. It also included Tom Petty's version of Little Red Rooster. Several of the tracks for this collection were recorded live in Washington, D.C. in December 2000 at a benefit concert. Anne Murray's What a Wonderful Christmas is also celebrating its 25th this year. This was her 6th Christmas release, and it had 33 newly recorded performances done with the London Symphony Orchestra. It hit the top 10 on 3 of Billboard's charts: top Christian albums, top country albums, and top holiday albums. And the last one on my list for 2001 is a wild-eyed Christmas night from 38 Special. It had 10 tracks, 4 of which were originals: Hallelujah, It's Christmas and I Miss You, That Old Rockin' Chair, and the title track. And now on to 2006. There are so many releases that are 20 this year that I'm just going to run through the whole list without any of the details that I've been sharing with other years, and I'm probably going to do the same thing with the rest from here on out. Anyway, the albums turning 20 this year are Gladys Knight's A Christmas Celebration, Allie and AJ's Acoustic Hearts of Winter, Brad Paisley's first Christmas album called Brad Paisley Christmas, A Christmas Celebration with Celtic Woman, Third Day's Christmas Offerings, Wynonna Judd's A Classic Christmas, Bette Midler's Cool Yule, Fresh Cut Christmas from George Strait, Billy Idol's Happy Holidays, Kenny G's The Holiday Collection, Home for Christmas from Hall & Oates, James Taylor at Christmas, The Muppets' A Green and Red Christmas, My Favorite Christmas Carols by Robin Gibb, Amy Mann's One More Drifter in the Snow, Snow Angels from Over the Rhine, Lionel Richie's Sounds of the Season, Enya's Sounds of the Season, Twisted Sisters' A Twisted Christmas, Winter Carols from Blackmore's Night, Sarah McLachlan's Winter Song, Wishing for This from Lee Nash, and the compilations Now That's What I Call Christmas 3, A Santa Cause, It's a Punk Rock Christmas, and The Spirit of Christmas 2006. And for 2011, here are the Christmas albums celebrating their 15th this year. Chicago's Chicago 33 Oh Christmas 3, Christmas from Michael Bublé, Christmas EPs from Hey Monday and Richard Marx, Toby Mac's Christmas in Diverse City, Mannheim Steamroller's Christmas Symphony, Joey and Rory's Farmhouse Christmas, Glee's The Christmas Album Volume 2, Marcella Detroit's Happy Holiday EP, Matthew West's The Heart of Christmas, Carole King's A Holiday Carol, Scott Weiland's The Most Wonderful Time of the Year, Noel from Phil Vassar, Justin Bieber's Under the Mistletoe, A Very She and Him Christmas, Dina Martin's White Christmas, and the compilation Wow Christmas. And here are the Christmas albums turning 10 this year that all came out in 2016. Lauren Daigle's Behold a Christmas Collection, She and Him's Christmas Party, Christmas Together from Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood, The Killers Collection Don't Waste Your Wishes, Friends for Christmas from John Farnham and Olivia Newton-John, Brett Eldridge's Glow, Rascal Flatts' The Greatest Gift of All, I'll Have Another from Straight No Chaser, Chris Young's It Must Be Christmas, Kylie Minogue's A Kylie Christmas Snow Queen Edition, Reba McEntire's My Kind of Christmas, A Pentatonix Christmas, Simply Christmas from Leslie Odom Jr., Amy Grant's Tennessee Christmas, 'Tis the Season from Jimmy Buffett, Jennifer Nettles' To Celebrate Christmas, Casey Musgrave's A Very Casey Christmas, and Sarah McLachlan's Wonderland. And here are the last batch of Christmas albums, all celebrating their 5th anniversary this year. We the Kingdom's A Family Christmas, Gary Barlow's Dream of Christmas, Evergreen from Pentatonix, Norah Jones' I Dream of Christmas, Sarah Connor's Not So Silent Night, the Philly Special's first Christmas album, A Philly Special Christmas, Santa Baby from Alicia Keys, Lindsey Sterling's Snow Waltz, the soundtrack to the Will Ferrell-Ryan Reynolds movie Spirited, A Very Backstreet Christmas from the Backstreet Boys, and Debbie Gibson's Winterlicious. While many of those early ones gave me the feeling of how can it possibly have been that many years ago, the real surprises, at least to me, were the last few groups. I mean, it seems like we were just talking about the 10th anniversary edition of Michael Bublé's Christmas album, and now tack on another 5 to that. I want to mention that this list I just ran through does not represent every Christmas album having a significant birthday this year, and I apologize if I somehow missed one of your favorites or didn't talk about one of your favorites as much as you feel it deserved. And this was just about Christmas albums, not singles or EPs. Well, for the most part, there were a couple EPs. Maybe that's something that I'll try to tackle on another episode. Thanks so much for listening, helping me share some Christmas spirit, and for continuing to support the Sounds of Christmas station and podcast. I told you how to listen to the station, and you're listening to the podcast now, so my work here is just about done. All of our episodes are available on the Sounds of Christmas website. Just click the podcast tab. And we also have a Linktree page that lists most, if not all, of the sites that stream the Sounds of Christmas podcast. And I'll put a link to that down in the show notes. So you can click on that, then find your favorite, click on over, and subscribe, and you'll never miss another episode. If you have comments or suggestions on this episode, previous episodes, or the Sounds of Christmas station, feel free to reach out to me on social media or through the website. Thanks again, and may you always believe in Santa Claus.